Okay. Um, I'm. I recently. Let's put it this way. Um, in 2022, so February 3rd, 2022, I got my first aquarium, which ended up being a 75-gallon tank. On February 3rd, 2022, I got my first tank, 75-gallon tank, along with a Fluval FX4. I also got one decoration, um, air pump, two 150-watt heaters, um, and then a year and 1 day later, so February 4th, 2023, I went and drove 3 hours to a different town, to a different city, and picked up this 100. Well, it's supposed to be 120-gallon, but the dimensions say that it's 135.5 gallons. So I'm gonna say 120 though, just cause. Um, 2 months after a month, maybe 2 months after I got the tank, the it basically broke. What happened is the glass piece that was in the middle here that was on going through with and silicone and whatnot had popped, and the front and back of the tank proceeded to bulge. So I had to put on a big enough C clamp on top in order to hold it on. So since 2023, I've had that C clamp on. As of 2 weeks ago, I finally fixed it, and I created this little I wouldn't say little, but I created this holder and whatnot. Basically, it's covers, it surrounds the tank. I sanded them very, very good, painted them, put supports on each end and in the middle, and on the and then I also put this piece of plywood, not OSB, but actual plywood, over it. And I didn't have short screws, so I had to use short nails, which ended up working just fine. It's keeping it in there, and it's like I said, it's been 2 weeks, and I haven't had any problems. The only difference is these things right here for the Fluval don't go on. they don't work anymore. Even if I were to cut this part off, it wouldn't work. So yeah, I currently have, and at the same time I lost the end to the thing, so I had to jury rig it. And basically I used a piece of I use the end, this rubber thing that goes on the end. I attach that, and I then put a piece of a right angle pipe in there and made it this way. I took this off yesterday and put this in so it'd give it slightly more bubbles, therefore more water disturbance. Just because since I'm missing the end piece now, I had the end piece where it would push up and cause its own disturbance, so I wouldn't need this. But since there's barely any disturbance because of this, I had to put this in. So basically, I've had this tank since 2023. So February 4th, 2023, which I would end up finding out was my mom and dad's anniversary. But dad had died. My dad died 2 days before his 86th birthday. So he died 8/10/2021, and then a few months later I got the tank. So 75-gallon tank with an FX4. A year, 1 day later, I got a 120-gallon tank. And then 3 months later, I was able to get for just under half the price. The FX6 was around $410, but I was able to get it for like $250 or so. No, $225, and it hadn't been opened. I'm currently using that, and at the time I had 4 of these guys. And you can't see, but I had 2 I forgot what they're called. Basically, they look like this, a fancy goldfish. They were 2 fancy goldfish. But and I ended up having a bluegill in there that I had captured fish, and something happened. He ended up going from half of the tank and shot this way. What happened is, I'm pretty sure he attacked or tried to latch onto him, and he shot forward and he ran right into the side of the top of the tank right over here, and ended up killing himself. Yes. So, and then I am getting these from my brother. I had only 2 males, 2 females, and then what ended up happening is after 2 years, after 3 years, both males ended up dying, but not before I had babies in there. And as of right now, it's looking like I have 1, 2. I think I might have 2. No, I don't know. I can't. I'm having trouble deciding. I don't know if these convicts. I'm hoping that these are not all females. If anyone can tell me if these are female or male, that'd be great. I know that my albino Cory catfish, one is a female and one is male. Because every once in a while, after doing a water change, they... not really a water change, but... I don't know how to say it. It usually ends up, after doing a good-sized water change, that they end up laying hundreds of eggs. But the plecos, that upside-down catfish, this guy right here, which is currently having problems again. This guy right here, him, they all eat the eggs. And that's why I ended up putting these spawning mops in there, hoping to get them to be able to spawn on those, and haven't really been able to. So this is currently it. I mean, I currently have only the FX6 hooked up because there's not that many fish in here, and the FX6 seems to be doing a great job. Over the course of since 2022, like I said, I had 4 of these guys. Now I'm down to 1. And I almost lost him a little bit over a month ago because I ended up waking up in the middle of the night. So around 3 or 4 o'clock at night. And I thought my dogs needed to go back to go pee or whatnot because they're whining or whatnot. I let them out, and then went back to in the bed and I turned on a TV show on my computer, went and laid down, and then I thought I could hear what sounded like my dog scratching at something or whatnot. So I was like, "Yo, dog!" And turns out both of my dogs were sleeping at the foot of my bed, and I was like, "Well, that's not you. What's going on?" I then ended up looking at it. After a little bit over maybe 6 minutes, 7 minutes, if not longer, I was like, I got up and was like, what is that sound? And as I got up out of bed and walked, I then was able to hear the noise and noticed it right away, and noticed that he had jumped out of the fish tank. I put him back in the fish tank, and it took him a good couple of minutes to be able to. When I put him in here, he just went down sideways and was laying down at the bottom. And I was like, "There's nothing really I can do much. There's nothing more I can do right now. I can only hope that in the morning when I wake up that you'll still be alive." And well, he's still alive. So even after being out of the water for 5 minutes, if not longer, and he's still alive. So like I said, I had 4 of these guys. I ended up getting him four of these guys. 1 Blackmore, he was completely black. I got the upside down fish. 1 high fin bristlenose pleco. 1 common pleco. And like I said, I got 2 females, 2 males, and then both males died of the convict cichlids. And 2 Cory catfish, 2 albino Cory catfish. The female I've had turns out I've had since 2022. The male I've had maybe for a year and a half. And as of right now, I'm really hoping that these convict cichlids are male and female, because specifically over here, this one at least, is making holes or nest or whatnot over by that clay pot bottom. But yeah, the idea is eventually what my plan is to do is when eventually what I'm going to end up doing is when these fish end up passing away, I'm going to be taking the tank out, cleaning, taking all the sand and gravel out, sifting all the gravel and sand and putting them into different spots, and then putting the rest of the fish that I have, which should be the plecos and whatnot, and put them into not a much smaller tank, but a smaller tank, and then proceed to put a lot of plants, redo the tank, and make it to where there's a lot more plants. And make it to where there's not just more plants, but there's I wouldn't say crevices, but there's a lot of I would say look like a Grand Canyon or whatnot. And then the idea is to get tetras or guppies or whatnot, and make it to where this whole tank is nothing but those. And that way I can hopefully start selling them. And make a little bit of money. I need to do a tank cleaning with whatnot. But other than that, I think everything's doing great. I don't know about him, but I'm loving my fish so far. Like I said, this Blackmore was completely black, but over the course of 3 years, 4 years now, he or she or whatnot has lost 90% of their blackness. Clearly there's enough flow. I have my FX4 on one of my brother's tanks. I originally had it to where the FX4 would sit and inlet would be in this corner and output was a spray bar shooting this way at an angle. So it would be blowing like at this much of an angle. Well, actually no. This much of an angle. It would always get around halfway. That's it. I'm hoping in sometime next month, I'm going to use the remaining scrap of wood I have and all my woodworking tools, and I plan on basically taking this light off. Even though I love it, I'm going to take it off, and I'm going to make my own light box, make it waterproof, so I can then start growing more plants, because I thought this would end up working, but it doesn't work, because it turns out it's meant for marine life, not freshwater. I have this piece of wood in there. I've had it in there for like 4 days, 5 days now. It's a piece of madrone. And that's it.